and out, in and out. All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Really appreciate you guys coming to the show tonight. I want to start off by reminding you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe, join the memberships. Also, for those of you that are on TikTok, we have the option for you guys to request to join the feed from the invite section on your screen. Also, the rest of you that are on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, you have the option to click the link and approve the mic and approve the camera. And if you do so, it will allow you guys to join, put you into my green room, confirm you're over the age of 18 because you got to be an adult for this podcast. And then we will bring you onto the screen live. You'll be able to talk to us in real time. So enjoy that link there. Also, if you join the membership, we have interesting merchandise that you guys might like. I believe you'd like it. I'd like it. And you get massive discounts on those based on tiers of membership that you apply to. We also have affiliate items throughout all of our videos that are on YouTube. So if you guys are not on YouTube, like for those of you that are on TikTok, we have a link here on the bottom right side that allows you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have shows scheduled all the way through the middle of October, so you get to see what's coming up, where you can dive in and get involved with some of the things that we got to talk about, because this is a open forum, open discussion platform where we talk to everybody about everything under the sun, this, that, and everything in between, hence the name of the show. And today we are going to be tiptoeing into the interesting concept of why men are shying away from or afraid of commitment. Now, we have had some women in the past that talk to us about, really just devalue men and degrade men and disparage men off of the fact that men do not do what women would prefer men to do on a regular basis. And as a result, when a woman doesn't like something, not all women do this, but a lot of women do carry on in this fashion. They do talk down to the man or talk bad about the man to make the man feel bad about having his own train of thought or having its own personal beliefs and expectations. Now, one of the things that I find to be very interesting about this is that when we start talking about commitment, especially in 2024, when we're dealing with the relationships that are transactional, and we're actually going to be doing a show later on about how arranged marriages might be more beneficial in our transactional dating phase or our transactional dating culture, as opposed to the old-fashioned traditional marriage for love under the eyes of your religion. It is now more transactional, and which actually brings back that arranged marriage scenario. Now, arranged marriages originally were not accepted as far as one person arranging a marriage for somebody else, but any type of contractual agreement that leads to the marriage is technically considered an arranged marriage. So I just wanted to touch base on that in future shows. And while I'm on that topic, I want to double back to what I was about to say when I was mentioning how with the interactions that we have, the individuals that are getting involved in the dating phase are starting to have that issue when we start talking about commitment, whether it be short term or long term. We have the understanding and the expectation to perform a certain way, which provides us as men to put out an excessive quantity of resources from first engagement to the first date throughout the dating period, the commitment phase when you guys have committed to one another. Well, you're designed to be expected to be exclusive to one another, not necessarily 100% committing to one another. And then that leads to the engagement, which leads to the marriage, where you're then still, as a man, expected to fund the entire thing all the way to your last breath. Now, we have some that are dealing with the 50-50 era. It's not really 50-50, but because money is tight and it takes more than one income to get by, we have a lot of relationships that start about where somebody needs money, typically the girl, and somebody brings money, typically the guy. And then because that money is brought on a regular basis, they end up in a relationship, uh, which is a transactional relationship, which is equivalent to the arranged marriage setup. But the fact is that while we're looking at this, we ask ourselves, well, why are men avoiding that long-term commitment? They're avoiding those situations that are leading them to the marriage engagement. And truth be told, the investment is outweighed. Well, there is nothing else that outweighs the investment. Now that I think about it, truth be told, the investment itself outweighs any benefits of a long-term commitment. Because when we think about our social engagements and our social interactions, we think about as men exactly how much do we have to go through in order to get the girl to go somewhere with us in the first place. Because we are in the United States in the type of culture where it is expected for the men to engage the women and take the women out on the dates. And even in our modern day egalitarian society, where we say that whoever asks should pay, 90% of the time it's expected for the guy to ask. So if a girl is typically interested in a guy outside of those alpha boss ladies, those overly masculine women that are sometimes in some situations too assertive, meaning that they're bossy, not that they come on too strong when they're trying to engage somebody with a proposal for a future encounter. The fact is that the rest of them will prostrate themselves in a fashion where they will appeal the other person to come over. So they'll sit a certain way, do their hair a certain way. They will, smile back their eyelashes, something to that effect. They might pose in a certain fashion that catches the guy's attention, or walk past a guy, intentionally have him bump into her, or something to that effect. It's always going to be a passive scenario if a woman is going to initiate with the expectations of engagement, because the idea is that the guy is supposed to ask the girl. So the problem that we have is that in that situation, the man is being forced to pay anyway, because if she's interested in him, she won't actually make the first move and ask him out on a date. She will just allow him to ask her out on a date, which puts the financial responsibility in his court. So 2/3 of the time, the man is expected to pay for at least himself, if not for everybody. He's 100% of the time expected to pay. Probably, I would say 80% of the time, because there is a rare breed with a woman that will pay for the man, but it's such a rare feat. It is such an extremely rare feat, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to touch on that. So when we're dealing with that commitment phase, we're dealing with a lot of financial responsibility, a lot of obligations with sharing resources. So it's not just putting money into the table. It's like, if I have 2 cars, I've got to share one of them with my partner. I've got to share the house. And then you have certain states where if you allow somebody to move into the house, now you have squatters' rights, which means that you have to go through an eviction process to put them out. During that eviction process, they can vandalize your house. They don't own anything. So you're sacrificing the resources that you're allowing them access to. And if you forcibly vacate them, then you could potentially be paying them damages for kicking them out. So unless they voluntarily leave and then you change the locks after they leave, you are putting yourself in a compromising position where they are not allowing you to come back in. Now, all of this is leading to a whole nother situation where you're not actually putting yourself in a good spot, which is one of the reasons why I was talking yesterday, and I think a couple times last week, about these dating contracts. And I was actually sitting there watching a movie, and it came across my mind again, because they actually had a marriage contract, they had a dating contract, and I was like, man, why don't we do this stuff? Like, as fellas, if we're sitting here talking to this female, we're interested in her, she's allegedly supposed to be interested in us, why don't we have some terms and conditions for engagement? Now, keep in mind, a lot of this stuff is not actionable in a court of law. There are some contracts that are actionable in the court of law, like access and utilization of resources, ownership and possession of resources. So being able to dictate terms as to what you're allowed to touch and what you're not allowed to touch, and what you are going to be responsible for upon termination of this arrangement for whatever reason. When if the contract says that you have to give up the car and give up the house and get the fuck out, then once we agree that we are no longer in this situation and the contract is void, then you got to get the fuck out. You got to give up the car. You got to. It makes it, these types of contracts makes it a lot easier for you to be able to facilitate an exit strategy. So for those women that were doing escape funds, where they're funneling money out of the man's bank account and falling into her own bank account in case of an emergency, like guys could have those actual financial protections by having these types of dating contracts, where she would only be limited or restricted to a certain quantity of resources, and beyond those resources she will be liable to taking more than what she was allotted. So if she's only supposed to have access to, say, $50 to $100 a month outside of the monthly bills, if she's taking $2,000-3,000 out of the account, well, the contract said that you were only supposed to access 100 or 200 of the money, and then you took X number of dollars out of the money. If the contract says that you're only supposed to have a certain quantity of money, period, if you start walking away with a lot of money, there's a lot of ways that you can try to get reimbursed for some of that money. However, if you have specifically, she doesn't have access to all of this assets over here, but she has access to this particular joint bank account over here, then whatever you put into that account, she could take it back out. So you just put far less into that account, and then, whatever happens, happens. But even still, even in that scenario, modern times with things being so tough, men are actually sitting back and we're looking at the full financial picture, because the man's got to be responsible for himself even when he's single, and then a man has to be responsible for his partner when he's in a relationship, and the man has to be responsible for any children if he has children, or if she has children, or if they start having children throughout the relationship. Quick segue, how you doing, Red Boy? I see you dove in here. Liberty Twitcher and Silly Emma, I see you guys diving in. I appreciate y'all coming in from Twitch, showing us love. But back to the statement, it's like, we're looking at the full totality of things. I mean, we're talking to people all over the world about how their financial obligations are pretty steep. Some people have the kind of financial obligations that interferes with their ability to be successful. I was just talking to somebody from Taiwan that's in the United States trying to get citizenship in the United States, and the cost of citizenship, the cost of application for citizenship is so expensive. It's almost $2,500, $5,000 to apply for citizenship. Whereas in other countries, you could just apply for indigency, and it'd be like $250, $500. It's like 10%. But because you're in the US, they make you do a bunch of physicals in order to get the application across. I'm like, man, y'all lost y'all fucking mind. They really be trying to make a business out of giving you space in the US. I can see why they're so pissed off at all the people from Mexico who came over here and didn't put up that $5,000 before they got here. Completely understand. But still a business. Notice nowhere in there do people really give two shits about somebody else. I mean, I was just talking to a woman just yesterday where she had been living in the same house for 15 years, and the landlord evicted an 86-year-old woman that was living in an apartment that was backflowing with sewage and water leaking from the ceiling, and they evict her for late fees on the rent. You got raw sewage coming up out of the kitchen sink and water coming out of the ceiling, and you're gonna complain about back rent? But this is the American way. This is how people really interact with one another. Everything is transaction. And because everything is transactional, when we start getting into the dating phase, things start getting really tough for men to be able to say, I'm cool with that. Now, there are some men that, beta men, delta men, they may misperceive themselves as alpha men because they have the money, they're wasteful, and they have the money to waste on social interaction. I seen on a social media thing on TikTok, you guys probably scrolled through it before you got to this channel here, where they're doing the balloon popping thing, the left and right thing, and you got the two guys sitting there looking at all of these girls that are dressed like 304s, and they one girl in particular, mildly attractive, I'd say a 6 or a 7, and that's pushing it because she did have fake hair and she was covered in tattoos, so probably like a 5 or a 6 really. But the skirt was so short that like you could see everything from the angle that the camera was in, which was above the head. You could still see the skirt was way too short. And the fact is that the lady had the audacity, and I'm trying to be respectful by calling her a lady, because the question that she asked was not the kind of question a lady would ask. And the lady asked, how much would you pay for one night with me? And I'm sitting over here jaw dropped at the fact that she asked that question on a live podcast interaction kind of scenario. And while the men were like, oh yeah, whatever you want me to pay. Transactional, but your self-worth and self-value as a woman in that particular situation is obsolete, because to the highest bidder has your body been sold to. And that is a huge issue in this country, because dating has become exactly that. And that's why men are shying away from a lot of the dating, because men are looking for wives, especially once they start reaching middle age. Now, I understand the teenage men, the young men, the boys, whatever, Gen Zs, they are into sleeping with as many women as they possibly can. And that is a big factor in why the hookup culture is the way it is, because from 16 to 30, you're trying to get as many of them as you can. And you got to be careful about ages. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you can catch the wrong case because the girl is 16, 17 years old. So even though y'all are in the same age group, it is still a crime. And then once the girls that you are involving yourself with are over the age of 18, you have the large quantity of women that you engage from 18 to, whenever you draw your line at age wise, because older women are going to date younger men. So in your 20s, you're going to be dating 30 and 40-year-old women. And in your 30s, you're going to be dating 10 and not 10. You would be dating 18 and up to about 25. And I was going to say about 10 years younger or 15 years younger than you is what I was going to say. That's why I talked about the 10. And that is actually the case, is that a 40-year-old man would date a woman 10 years younger than him or 15 years younger than him. And that puts that person, if he's 40, that puts her somewhere around 25, being 15 years younger than him. And women are dating men as much as 60 years older than him. Now, there are some men that have that line in the sand that we've talked about in the past, where, if they have children, they won't date a girl that is the same age or younger than their child. But they also have men that say, well, my children have lived their life. They're all grown adults. They're off doing their thing. So even at 65 years old, I'll go date an 18-year-old, even though my daughter's 45. It is what it is. But when you start talking about that commitment, the men are actually committing to a long-term relationship, or at least a relationship long enough for the remainder of their life to be happy. So when they're in their 60s and 70s and they're getting a 10-year long relationship, thinking that they're probably going to live for another 8 years, that by the time the situation has resolved itself, that they have, gotten buried into the sand. You're dating a young girl and you're going to leave her with your assets because she gave you the best last years of your life, even though those other people might have spent 10 or 20, 30, 40 years of your life doing for you. This one person was there at the end. That person gets all of whatever's left. But for those of us in middle ages, with the average age rate starting to be about 84, 85 years old, if you're 40 years old, you're middle age. 40, 45 years old, you're middle age. And at middle age, at 40, 45 years old, you are looking at another 40 to 45 more years. You're not trying to have a 3 to 5 year relationship every 5 to 10 years. That's horrible, because you're going to be continuously rebuilding. You're going to be continuously starting over. And you're literally, this isn't a figurative speech of the man's got to start over. Women believe that they go through so much in a breakup, and they do have a lot of emotional distress. So I'm not going to say that women are by far diminished in their breakups, but I am going to say that the men actually have more financial distress than women have, because when a man breaks up with a woman, if he's if he bought stuff and they're sharing it, he bought enough stuff that they're sharing, and they break up with one another, he's gonna walk out of that relationship and leave her with all of the stuff. He might take his car and go on and do what he does, but the rest of the cars, the house, and he might leave her with all of the bills, but he's got to go and start over. He's got to get himself another house. He's got to go get himself another apartment or something. Um, he might leave with the clothes on his back. He's got to start over and buy new furniture. So every time a man breaks up with a woman, he has to rebuild his entire life, which sets him back so much further than a woman that has to rebuild her emotional stability. Because while in a even in a good breakup, even in a mutual separation where they both agree that they need to break it off, which very rarely happens, unless the woman voluntarily leaves him with everything, more often than not, the man has got to go, and the man is going to take all of what he can carry and leave it with one of the two cars. And if there is only one car, he might not be able to leave with the one car. He might have to call a cab and leave the car there and has to start over. So he has to go and buy new cars. He has to go buy himself another apartment or something to that effect. And that stuff is in addition to his emotional distress. So men are not avoiding commitment because they are afraid of commitment. Men actually want commitment. Men are subconsciously committing to just about everything they do. They shop at the same place on a regular basis. They deal with the same sales representative every time they go there. They eat at the same locations on a regular basis. Like, men make schedules where they go to certain places and do the same thing all the time. They become so predictable about their ways that if a man decides to try something new and he likes it, then he starts adding that to his repertoire of things to do. A woman will assume that he's cheating because he's now missing during a time that you normally know where he's at. And the fact is that men are so dedicated to what they do, to the fact that, and we're builders. We're builders. We build shit up. So we will get something that needs to be worked on, like a damaged woman, and we will build on that. We will provide the emotional stability. We will provide the resources. If she's homeless because she got thrown out by her last boyfriend, probably because she had a fucked up attitude, you'll get her, and then you'll try to mend to her attitude, and you'll give her a place to stay and provide her with resources, help her find a job, go buy her a car, everything that she needs. Then when she gives you the fucked up attitude, you might be better off and say, well, you can have it all and I'll leave. Some men actually go the extra mile and say, well, I'll bring you back to your family and bring all your stuff where you have a place to stay. I'll put you somewhere where you have a place to stay. But even in the breakup, the man is paying to break up with the girl. It's a huge stressful situation that men have to deal with, that women are not willing to recognize it. They understand it. They know it exists, but they don't really care. Not too many of them. The ones that complain about the behavior of men when women say that men are traumatized and they need to get over their emotional baggage and stuff to that effect. But you have to understand that a negative engagement between a man and a woman is that the trauma that a woman receives in a relationship is because of the last man or the last several men, and the trauma that happens to a man in a relationship is because of the last woman or the last several women. So when you talk about how a man has insecurities from past traumas, women caused him that insecurity. So as a woman, you're supposed to be more understanding that other women have mistreated this man. And if he's trying to have a good heart and trying to be a good man, then as a good woman, you should be trying to treat him better than the other women have treated him, instead of devaluing and demoralizing him because you're not satisfied with the actions that he's performed. And that's one of the things that women don't think about. Women are quick to take shots at a man and destroy a man's character. Even just because she doesn't agree with his opinion, she's quick to destroy a man's character. But what a woman is not willing to do She's not willing to build that man up emotionally. She's not willing to build that man up financially. And she's not willing to put more into his situation than what she takes out of it, but she is willing to tear it all down. She's willing to destroy the entire kingdom that this man built. She's literally about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because she made it Sodom and Gomorrah, and now she's going to destroy it. And all he can do is sit there and watch it. And that is the chaos that goes through a man's mind when a man thinks to himself, yeah, I'm probably not going to get myself involved in that, which also puts men into a scenario if men are avoiding committed relationships because men are avoiding locking themselves down to the type of woman that may run off with half of his resources, men are going to start putting themselves into transactional relationships. And a transactional relationship is going to be situations where you're going to come because you want money, and I'm going to give you a certain quantity of money for a certain quantity of effort. Doesn't matter what that effort is. And you're not actually really dating each other. It's still an open relationship because she can still go get herself a boyfriend. You don't claim in her. You're still a single man, but she wants to, oh, let's go hang out. Notice I keep throwing up these quotes because I mean the terminology that people use these days, where we're going to go somewhere, I'm going to spend money on you, and then you're going to give me some sexual gratification. And that's pretty much it. Because you're not going to see a woman that's going to say, oh, hey, I was bored. I was wondering if I could come and clean your house and then maybe we could talk. You're never going to get that. You're never going to get that. You're never going to get a woman that says, oh, hey, I was sitting here needing somebody to talk to. How about I come to your house and cook you dinner and then we can talk? Nope. If you tell a woman that you're hungry, she'll tell you to go order takeout. You tell a woman that if you ask a woman to make you something to eat, not only will she curse you out about it, but she will then demand that you pay her and buy all of the groceries if she's even willing to cook the shit. So it turns into a job. It turns into, like I said, transactional engagements. Now, just like men who get their hair done, if you know a girl that you've been talking to for a while, you know that she does hair, you ask her to do your hair, you're going to pay her. Now, if you're in a relationship with a girl that knows how to do hair, she should voluntarily do your hair. But your girlfriend will come and do your hair, and then after she gets your hair all night, or she might get it halfway done. That way, it's not finished, and you look shitty. So that's the point where she tells you that she needs money for some shit. So then you have to, oh yeah, I'll give it to you so that she can finish your head. Which is why some men get haircuts. Some men do bald fades. They do go to the barber. They'll pay their barber $40 twice a week or twice a month actually to keep their hair straight instead of their girlfriend conning them into $200-$400 worth to give me money because she came over and braided his hair. And truth be told, in these situations, which also makes it even more transactional, you actually find more fulfillment in a platonic relationship with a female hairdresser where you just only show up when you got money to pay her to do your hair. And likewise, you find equal fulfillment when you go to the dry cleaners and you've got the female person at the dry cleaners that will casually hold a conversation with you while she's getting your clothes together. You get that female companionship with the housekeeper that will casually have conversation with you while she's cleaning your house. You find one that will cook for you. So if the one that's not cleaning for you isn't cooking as well, you got another one that you're going to pay to clean up the house for you. And to get you a personal assistant that will call you so that you don't got to look for her. She'll call you because she's on the payroll to remind you of all of the important things that you have to do in your life, reschedule everything and reorganize things to make sure that you're available for all of the ways that you can make money. And that is the wife material because your personal assistant will make sure that you are lined up in the most successful way so that you can make the most money that you can possibly make so that you can pay her salary. Now, all of these women, I just named off about 4 or 5 different positions that a girlfriend or a wife would fill unilaterally and then be able to earn ways to get an allowance from the man that is the $50 to $100, $200, $300 a month that a man will be paying for each one of these different positions. You're looking at almost $1,500 a month for 4 or 5 positions that a man will be paying for other women to give him the task-based engagements that he needs out of the relationship. Now, keep in mind, the man is not going to be emotionally fulfilled because these women are just showing up and doing a job, but they are not pretending like they give a shit about his well-being. They are showing up and doing a job because that's what he's paying them to do. Now, some of these women, because women are emotional, will develop an emotional bond with the man and actually give a shit about him. But that's a bonus. That's an added bonus. You're not paying them to like you. You're paying them to do a job. And if it just so happens that they respect you while you're paying them to do the job, you end up in a better situation with them than what you do in a romantic relationship with somebody who you're paying for her presence. She does not have to be nice to you. And if she gets tired of you, or she gets tired of what she doesn't get from you, she could leave and potentially leave with half of whatever you haven't already given her. And I got to tell you, that's a shitty situation. And when we're trying to walk out of a relationship into the freedom of singleness, as men, we have to understand that there are sacrifices that we have to make. If we're going to leave her, we're going to have to leave a lot of stuff behind. Marriage is even worse, because marriage, you actually have to go to court and divide up all of the assets. If you get a girl that demands that she wants it all and she wants alimony, which means that you're going to be paying her for the rest of her life because of the 2 or 3 years that you had with her. Because alimony doesn't stop with her getting married. More often than not, you're paying her alimony forever after that. So 5-10 years after the divorce, you're still paying her out. You're still giving this girl money. You don't fuck with her at all no more. But because she's awarded alimony, you are legally obligated to continue to give this girl money for the remainder of your life. That in and of itself is the reason why we're not afraid of it. We don't want to fuck with it. We're not trying to put up with all that bullshit, and unless we're the kind of individual where we are not going to, we're not going to declare everything in the same location, we're really putting everything on the line. So let's say, for example, those of you that are self-employed men, if you're the kind of man that you run your own businesses, she starts doing stuff allegedly to aid you in your businesses. She starts being allegedly entitled to assets out of your business. So this is one of those scenarios where I tell you that it's probably better for you to have those dating contracts, because if you have a dating contract, she is obligated to help you in your personal life. She is not allowed to aid you in your business life unless you revise your dating contract. If she is going to aid you in your business life, then you are going to give her a reasonable quantity of compensation for the aid that she's giving you. But the aid is going to be transactional as well, where once the situation is done, you've paid her dues for whatever it is that she's done. And like I said earlier, I seen it in a movie, and yeah, it was a movie, but this is shit that really happened. I mean, it happens in fucking Korea, so it doesn't happen in the United States that I know of, but it does happen. Fact is, it could happen in America. And if it did happen in America, shit would make more sense. The long and the short, a couple had a dating contract. That also leads to a marriage contract. The dating contract dictates the terms of the relationship. What we will and will not do, what we will and will not allow, which is equivalent to what I've been telling you guys for the last year, which is stand on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. Now, you can get really, really detailed and really, really petty with this, but if you're doing surface level expectations, not like, oh, you can't go to the bathroom at 6 p.m. If you're not that petty with it, if you're just, specifically dedicating 2 to 4 hours a week with your partner, or taking 1 day or 2 days a month and giving your partner their undivided attention, where if I take 2 days off to give you undivided attention, that is separate from you taking 2 days off and giving me undivided attention. That way, no one person is always being prioritized all the time. Where you guys would go for the holidays, if you're going to alternate family members, or if you're going to go to your family members separate, or if you're going to go to both family members in the same day, do you go to mine and then yours, or and then switch it up and go to yours and then mine, or like how does that work out? Everything that you well, again, like I talked about, the utilization and sharing of resources, replacing resources, and every other financial compromise that you guys can have, investment opportunities that you guys may be working on together are separate from one another. If you're pooling your money together to do something, what is your percentage of it versus what is my percentage of it? And then, if in the event that the situation was to terminate, what all would need to be liquidated in order for you to get your fair share and walk away from the deal. If you're putting yourself in that particular type of contract, it's a lot more comfortable of an engagement, which also means that the investment that I put into you, I'm going to get that out of you, or I'm going to get reimbursed from that if we break up. Likewise, the investment that you put into me, you're going to get that out of me, or you're going to get the value of that from me when we break up. And that also is a type of contract where I was sitting over here thinking, because at the end of the movie, they were like, oh yeah, we update this contract every year. I'm like, what? That makes perfect sense. Do you know how smart it is for you to be able to reassess your relationship every 12 months? And matter of fact, I would do a 13-month revolving contract. I would do a 13-month contract where you would have 90 days prior to the expiration of the contract, which is 11 months in, for you to be able to revise or terminate the contract before the contract goes into effect for the new year. So if you hook up on January, you've got until February, but between November and February, you're reassessing your upcoming year based on what we've gone through last year. This is what we should be able to do and not do this year so that we have a better relationship. Having a relationship contract gives you the ability to really put it on paper what you guys expect of one another, which also aids you in avoiding conflict, unnecessary conflict, because you're not going to go down the way with narcissistic behavior. He said, she said, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. You're not going to have to deal with that. Page 4, section 3, paragraph 5. We agreed that this is going to happen this way. It's not happening that way. We need to rectify it. Plain and simple. It's not, oh, you fucked up, or oh, you lying bastard, you promised me, and this, that, and that. None of that. According to what we agreed upon at the beginning of the year, this contract says that we are supposed to do it this way. Now, we revised this contract at the end of the year. So if you have concerns about the discussion, about the way that you and I agreed on this year, make note of it, staple it to the back of this contract, and at the end of the year, we will readdress that situation. Because only if it is that serious will you still be talking about it in 13 months. Does that make sense? So with the patience of Job, you learn how to put yourself in a better position where you're not getting screwed over by your partner. But until we start thinking about it as men, this is a financial arrangement that we're having. Dating is no longer about love and romance. Dating is a financial arrangement. Women are not getting men because the men make them happy. And I can say that unilaterally, that women are not getting men because the men are making the women happy. Women are getting the men because the men are giving the woman what the woman wants financially. There are women that are okay with the man because she can do enough by herself that all she really wants is somebody to spend time with. There are women that have enough men paying her way that she just wants somebody to spend time with. There are older women who have absolutely no problem with dating a man because just for the sake of companionship, because she's already lived her life, she's already financially stable, she's got the inheritance money from her widow husband or her late husband. All she needs now is somebody that she can spend the last of her days with while she lives off of the money from her last husband. Those are going to be the ones that don't really look for money. They look for companionship. But especially the broke women, they're going to be looking for financial companionship. Well, not financial companionship, but financial relationships. So they're going to be, more often than not, they're going to be the ones that are going to be looking at how much do you make and what prestigious level of employment do you have. Because if you make a good quantity of money, but let's say that you're a truck driver, they're probably not going to pick you over if you have a more a lavish job. So if you were a lawyer or a doctor, some girls might go for a club promoter. If you're going to get them into the club, the younger girls will probably chase after that. You know, other things like that. They're looking at the prestige of your employment, but they're not necessarily paying attention to the whole commitment aspect. It very rarely on first contact with a woman is she going to try to find out how nice you will treat her, how much you will respect her. So as men, if we're doing the transactional aspects of dating, then what we're looking at is that we're literally analyzing. If you make it to the fact that, you know, yeah, we could start dating, we should probably write down what we expect each other to do. And this actually gives us the ability for ladies to be able to say, yeah, it's equal, it's 50-50, because what you want is going to always be on the table before a man is able to say what he wants. So we already understand that. But recognizing the fact that a woman will be able to put her wants, needs, and desires down on paper and match that with a man who's going to also put down his wants, needs, and desires on paper. And these two will be able to analyze what each other wants, needs, and desires, and be able to check off the things that they're capable of accomplishing, and then negotiating the things that they're not capable of accomplishing. This actually deviates away from unrealistic expectations for behavior. And unrealistic expectations is a woman that wants to travel. So she wants to go around the world. Or she wants to travel, go to different countries. She wants to take a trip out of the country twice a year. I don't have $3,000 to take you out of the country twice a year. I don't have $3,000 per trip to take you out of the country twice a year. I might have $300 to take you out of town twice a year or once a year, but I don't have $6,000 total to take you to 2 different countries every year. But I know that if I invested that kind of money into some sort of high interest yield investment opportunity, that in 10 or 20 years, that I could probably buy us a house in one of those other countries where we would not have to carry luggage back and forward on a plane. We would just have to get on the plane ourselves and make it do what it do when we get there, which makes a huge difference. And that is going to be one of the situations that we don't think about as men either, is that if we invest in our future, the contract that we're developing with this woman is going to aid us in being able to invest in our future, because she's going to know that we're not wasting a shit ton of money on stuff that's not going to benefit us in the long term. The annual year-to-year contract that we would have is, if we can make it through this year, let's try another year. But you're looking at long-term investment plan. So again, when you start talking about pooling your money together, joint investments into one another, you're looking at whether or not she's going to pay into the pot and what is her percentage. And then if she's going to put a percentage in, is she going to get back interest on her investment? And if she is going to get interest back on her investment, how much interest is she going to get back on her investment? So if you've got one of those transactional girlfriends that you're dating and she's going to loan you money, you know, what is your interest rate? Are you going to charge me the market average, or are you going to overstate the scenario? You know, and if you're going to charge me the market average, which market are you doing? Because you have 6%, 18%, 300%. And then I have to be able to determine, okay, well, based on your investment in me, I will give you entitlement to a certain quantity of dividends out of me. As a walking investment, If she's going to invest in me, then that means that she will get something out of me later, depending upon how much she invests. If you're in those types of relationships where you're trading off a task for a task, an action for an action, you help my family move something, then I'll help your family cook something. You help my family with an event, I help your family with an event or an activity. This is how you can reassure that uniformity is occurring in your relationship, because if your family calls on me for a favor, my family can call on you for a favor. And that balances everything out for the most part, because you have to also understand that there's going to be unreasonable requests, because if I asked you to pick up a box, you might ask me to move a whole house. So there is going to be some unrealistic requests, but action for action exchanges are in most situations beneficial in some situations with the relationship, because you're not going to have one person being the only person going all in a relationship. You're not going to have only one person that is contributing the most between the two people, because if you got it on paper that, look, in order for me to finance you or fund you, you have to be able to accomplish these tasks. And if you're able to accomplish these tasks at a regular basis, then you will be able to receive these benefits. You're putting that on paper, then you understand that she ain't getting shit unless she do shit. Now, all of this leads back to, how do you make it to the marriage? Well, first of all, you have to understand, I should not have to spend a third or 2/3 of my income on your engagement ring. That's a waste of money. I could take your engagement ring and invest it in a Bitcoin, and then give you a Bitcoin. And that would benefit you, because upon breakup, you would have the value of a Bitcoin. A $35,000 ring, I think right now, is between 1 and 2 Bitcoins. When Bitcoin is at its peak at 40, 50, 60,000, that $35,000 Bitcoin might be worth 60,000, or it might be worth 2 Bitcoins at that time. If you cash out when it's 60,000. So really, I'm not about to waste 60 grand, 30 grand on an engagement ring. That's stupid. If you need a $200 show other people that you're taking kind of thing, yeah, I'd do that. But 35,000, 40,000, it's got to be 14 karat or 18 karat gold with, pure diamond, whatever cut. Nah, I'm not doing all that, because that's a waste of money. The value of those diamonds depreciates. The value of the gold is going to depreciate. The fact that, and you say that it doesn't. You say that gold doesn't depreciate in value. Shit. You take your gold wedding ring with whatever diamonds that are in there, hold on to it for a few years, bring it back to the store. The person who bought it for you might have got it for $20,000 or $30,000, but you're not bringing it back to the store that you bought it from, because that store probably doesn't exist anymore. They're going to offer you at a pawn shop 10% the value of the ring, and sell it for 30% more than what they bought it from you, which is half the price of what the ring is worth, because it's a used ring. Then you also have to look at the condition of the ring. Is going to devalue the ring. So buying a ring is not profitable for you. You would do better buying a trust and putting $35,000 into a trust with her name on it, where she would not have access to that trust until after you guys are no longer together. So after you die or divorce, that is what she will get. So in those situations, she would be able to have guaranteed benefit. And that actually is a smarter situation than wasting a bunch of money on a ring. Because do you know that if you bought her a $35,000 engagement ring, you still got to buy the wedding band? The engagement ring isn't sold with the wedding band. It's just a fucking ring. One ring. Then you got to buy another ring. And then you got to buy yourself a ring. She's not going to buy you a ring. You got to buy yourself a ring. And those rings are more often than not supposed to be matching. Then you got to pay for the wedding. So let's talk about that real quick. Why the fuck are we wasting all this money on this fucking wedding for all these people? No, 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 no. And women are gonna say, "Oh, he ain't shit because he ain't paying all this money for no wedding." Look, $100,000 for a wedding, I can invest in 5 Bitcoins. Let's be real. So between the engagement ring and the wedding, that's almost 150 grand. That's anywhere. If the Bitcoins are valued at $50,000 a coin at the time that you buy in, that's what, 3 Bitcoins. If they're valued at $20,000 Bitcoin when you invest in at that point, you're at almost 8 Bitcoins. And if that's going to double in value, your $150,000 will turn into $300,000, and you'll be able to keep capitalizing on your principal for the duration of your marriage. 10 years down the line, that $150,000 worth of Bitcoin that you bought when y'all first got married, when you really just bought you a little cheap ring from JCPenney and went to the courthouse and did the $75 to file at the courthouse, and you only spent $300 total, but you put the other $135,000 into Bitcoin. When you guys get a divorce in 10 years, she can have that. She'll get more money off of that type of transaction than what she would off of divorcing you, keeping the ring, wasting a bunch of money on a wedding that neither one of you get shit from. And then you, on the other hand, are going to have to give her even more fucking money after the divorce. So she still keeps the $35,000 ring and all of the money that you wasted. But now you still got to give her more money after y'all break up. Nah, bro, you got the contract set up. It's like, look, if we're leading into this marriage, instead of us spending all of this money into the marriage, we're going to invest marriage money into a trust that you will get upon termination of the agreement. That'll be your severance package. So upon divorce or death, you will receive this quantity of money, whatever this asset has become by the time the engagement is terminated. That is your severance package. You don't get shit else. So if you're investing in this man, and instead of siphoning money out of the man's account and putting it into your own escape fund, you would be funneling money to this man so that this man can invest that money into this trust that you're going to get, so that if you guys break up or get a divorce or whatever the fuck may be, you walk away with $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, as opposed to trying to sue him for $10,000 a year, because that's going to be 1/3 of his income. If you was to take the value of the ring and the value of the wedding and put it into a stock, by the time y'all wed and fall off in 5 to 10 years, you will get back more money from that transaction than what you would get from trying to clean out his bank account. And then think about this: when they start talking about alimony, it's based off of the man's current income. So if the man quits a high-paying job and goes to being unemployed, you don't get shit. If the man goes from a high-paying job to going to a job that's below the poverty line where he can't afford to take care of himself, you also don't get shit. So you're really more guaranteed as a woman to get more money out of the end of the relationship if the man took the money that you're wasting on flashy shit and invested in stuff that will benefit you upon termination of your arrangement, which is another reason why I said dating contract, updated every year. Have the dating contract updated to an engagement contract. Have the engagement contract updated to a marriage contract. Have that marriage contract upon termination, as long as the man is terminating the contract, that the woman will gain XYZ assets. If the woman is terminating the contract, she is forfeiting all assets. Doesn't matter why she's terminating the contract. If she's terminating the contract, she is forfeiting all assets, which means that she's not coming after you for shit. And that, sir, is a mild and nicely worded prenuptial agreement. But at the end of the day, if she's guaranteed to get, if I say, fine, I'm going to give you, if I tell you I'm going to get a divorce from you, like I'm breaking this situation off, I'm firing you, you get a severance package. You quit, you don't get shit. If you had that, if you had that, I tell you what, you would be in a situation where the girl would never leave. Now, that does not fair to say that there's a strong possibility that there's going to be a lot of cheating involved between the two of y'all. But if she's entitled to X number of dollars upon me firing her from the wedding or me dying, either she's going to try to take me out, or which also means that it has to be written in there that I can't lose my life from foul play. So I can't lose my life at the hands of somebody else, whether it be an accident or on purpose. If you write that in there too, it has to be natural causes. So, and be careful about that, because we know some hitmen that'll make it look like natural causes, but it has to be natural causes, like old age kind of thing. Especially since you were in a pinnacle of health, it has to be like natural causes, like old age. But beyond that, yeah, she's cashed out. She's cashed out. So if we're thinking about in these relationships exactly what we're trying to accomplish, then it's going to be less stressful for us as men, and we would not be as concerned about getting involved. But because we never thought about it up until I started talking about it over the past few months, about what else we could be doing to try to benefit our engagements and benefit the relationships that we're having, until we started talking about that, we actually did not have a solution to the problem. We just blindly walked into these relationships, and then we blindly got ourselves roped into something that we couldn't get ourselves out of, and then we got stuck. We got stuck. And because we got stuck, now we're in a position where she's entitled to shit, and we got to give them whatever it is that they ask for, which is an unconditional surrender, in order for them not to take half of everything that we work for. So you have to make sure that you build it up. If you build your relationship like a business, where your business is its own fucking LLC, and she's only going to get out of this relationship what she puts into this relationship. If you come to work and don't work, you don't get paid, because this is a commission only scenario. You don't put in effort to get paid, you're not getting paid. You don't get paid for your presence, you get paid for the shit that you do. And reinforcing that, you're able to get more of a companion, and you're able to get more of a partner, because if she's aiding in your financial success so that she can get a chunk of your financial success, then you're going to be more financially successful. And that's weird how we have situations where people are not going to think about that until they're put into that position where you could have gotten more if you would have just done more. But we typically try to rethink our position once we realize what we can receive on the back end, what we're guaranteed. When we can see the prize, that's when we start doing more. So if a woman saw all those zeros on the bottom of that contract, that this is yours upon a successful relationship, she would put in a shit ton of effort to get that successful relationship. If you're getting nothing off of a failure of a relationship, she's going to try her best not to fail. But if you're guaranteed to get, as long as you decide to walk away from a situation, you only got to be here long enough to say that it's legitifiable to expect compensation. If you can convince somebody else to say, hey, Your Honor, I'm entitled to X, Y, and Z because I've been here more than 90 days, the judge will say, well, give her a cut. And as long as that's the thing, we've got bullshit ass marriages where women are taking half of a man's estate. So men have to rebuild. And then because men have to rebuild, especially if you've gone through it and you've had to start over quite a few times, you're not going to be because you're going through it for a while, you're not going to be as comfortable with getting back into it a second or third time. You're going to be more reluctant. Now that there are those people who wear their heart on their sleeves and they're willing to take another chance, but it's far and few in between, because while you're dealing with the frustrations of the ex-wife, the ex-girlfriend, you're also understanding that in certain negative relationships, you have the ex that is sabotaging your current relationship. So you can't even start a new relationship because she's determined to keep you miserable for as long as possible. So where y'all once was in an era of bliss where everything felt like heaven, you end up in a situation where she is your worst nightmare. She comes out of nowhere like a bad genitalia disease. She just comes out of nowhere and at the most inconvenient time to remind you that parasite is still there. So it is hard for us to say that as men, that men are just afraid to do stuff, that we just recognize that it's not in our best interest. And it's true that women will test a man's masculinity by calling him a coward, and that a man will prove that he's not a coward by accepting the challenge to do some stupid shit that's not in his best interest. There are women that will challenge a man's masculinity and say, well, you're not a man if you can't do X, Y, and Z. And to prove that he has to prove himself to be a man by doing what she's saying that he's not doing, and what makes him not a man because he's not capable of doing that. And I tell you right now, fellas, you're a man because you're an adult man. Whether or not you're masculine or not, that's a good question. But you're no less of a man if you decide not to cater to her bullshit. You are no less of a man if you decide not to pay for her bullshit. You are no less of a man if you tell her what you're not willing to accept. So why would you allow your manhood to be challenged? Because it can only be challenged if you're accepting challenges. If right now, if somebody wanted to fight you, they could want it all day long. But how many fights are you getting into on a regular basis? Not many, if any. Why? Because that's not what you're looking for. So, likewise, she may want to challenge your manhood. She can make a lot of disparaging and derogatory remarks about you, but she can't officially challenge your masculinity if you don't accept the challenge. You know, she's going to tell, oh, you're a coward. All right, I'll be a coward. Oh, you're a bitch. Okay, I'll be a bitch too. You know, she'll call you everything under the sun. Some of them will even talk about your mama. That's your opinion. If it's gonna piss her off more if it doesn't phase you. But as men, if we recognize that we need to stand on our own non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and we need to push a principle of making sure that when we're interacting with the woman that we're trying to turn into a girlfriend, that we're trying to turn into a wife, that we just draw a line on mutual respect. That I talk to you the way you want me to talk to you. If you're going to talk to me the way you want me to talk to you, right? Then we follow that up with, I'm going to cater you to the extent that you're going to cater to me, and vice versa. We're not going to allow ourselves to be drug into the type of scenarios that will compromise our success. It'll compromise our agenda, and then cause us to sacrifice half of our resources. That at anybody who understands that if you invest in the wrong stock, that you're going to lose your money, you're not going to invest in that stock. Likewise, no man with common sense is going to invest in a relationship if he knows that this relationship is not going to end well financially. They don't even give a shit about emotionally in a transactional dating field. We're looking at financially. Is this even going to make sense for us? Which also goes to play to the tune of, for those men who look at their finances and they look at the dating field and the inflation behind dating, because going out on dates used to be $10, $20 at a time. Now going out on dates is $50 to $100 at a time. And that's a cheap date. An expensive date costs 3 times more than that. So if you're looking at your budget and you're looking like that kind of dating is outside of your budget, you're not even trying to date it. And there's no such thing as getting female friends. We ain't trying to have no female friends because, brother, I'm gonna tell you right now, I done told a lot of my homeboys this for the longest period of time, is that female friends is going to put you in a financial liability with no obligation for reciprocation. Because since you're not giving her this money or loaning her this money to get into her pants, you are giving her this money or loaning her this money where the most she would have to do is give you the money back at some point. But more often than not, because we're gentlemen, because we're good men, we're giving the money away that we worked hours, days, weeks, years to get. We're just giving it away like a fucking charity. But women don't want to be treated like a fucking charity case. But you're not required to invest in the man that you're asking for money from. See, notice I said invest in a man. I didn't say have sex with a man. I said invest in a man. But women sell themselves for the cash. They sweet up on a man, make him feel good, and then after they've made him feel good, they ask him for some money. You're paying for it eventually, brother. But what you also have to understand is that if she is expecting to be respected more than what most women are being respected in a modern transactional society, is she's got to do more than just spread her legs for a couple dollars. She's going to have to put effort into it when you start talking about long-term relationships. So fellas, while we are concerned, we're not afraid of commitment. We're not afraid of longevity. We're not afraid of life partnerships, because you can buy a car that's a 1989 whatever and still be rebuilding it from the ground up whenever you get a little extra money. That the way you treat that car is the same way you treat your girlfriend. Get you a 35-year-old, 40-year-old, something or other, and you're still paying for her hair and nails and her makeup and push-up bras and waist trainers and everything else that she's trying to utilize to make herself feel good about herself. It is not because you want her to wear these things so that she looks good for you. It's the fact that she wears these things so that she can look good for herself and the other men that she's trying to attract. That is not cheap, because once she gets with you, she should no longer put on makeup. She should no longer put on fake eyelashes. She should no longer glue hair to her scalp at any point in time. She should no longer be wearing tight, short skirts, because you've already seen her naked. You're already attracted to her. She should not be trying to overly glorify herself to leave the house and leave you at the house so that other people can see her attractive, but not you. That makes absolutely no sense. Once she's committed into a relationship, she should be dressing like Michelle Obama. She should not be showing off any assets. She should not be. Look, when we seen that election, not that election, that campaign where the woman went out there and had all them female artists dressed in suits and they were shaking their behinds like 304s in a club. I couldn't do nothing but put my head down. I would not have, as a professional, took that job and did that dance. We would have did something different. But the fact is that some people do not value themselves enough to say that even in a political position, even in a position where you are supposed to hold yourself to a more respectable tone, they do not put themselves in a situation where they're allowing themselves to be respected by somebody else. But you're demanding respect, though. You're demanding to be respected, not just respected, submitted to. Notice that overly aggressive women, they're barking orders at men, and it's outrageously expected by women that men are supposed to do what they're told. And here's the question, and this is a very interesting question, and I haven't seen anybody ask this to a woman in a while and actually got a response. But I just want to ask, ladies, why do you tell men what to do on a regular basis and you expect him to follow those instructions, but you don't want a man to tell you what to do, when what he's telling you to do is what he needs you to do to aid him in his endeavors or make him happy? And the things that he's asking you to do are mediocre at best. They're not even Mission Impossible scenarios. This isn't 007 assignments. You don't have to become Jason Bourne to accomplish the tasks that a man has. But as women, you don't just ask, you demand that men do and behave a certain way for the sake of your comfort, so that you know that you have control over the situation. Now, why is that? Now, uniformity dictates that if he's going to do what you tell him to do because he respects you and he loves you, then why is it, ladies, that you won't do whatever he tells you to do for the exact same reason? Which means that if you're telling him that he should take you out shopping because you feel like going shopping, he should be able to tell you to wash the dishes and cook something for him to eat because he's tired and hungry. Notice the difference, even in the request. He's tired and hungry. Basic needs. He needs rest and he needs nourishment. You're bored and you want to splurge. So for entertainment, you're going to waste his money. The the requests are on different magnitudes because yours have no value. His is for substance, survival, basic needs. So why is it that a woman can give orders and instructions to a man, but those same women do not feel comfortable with taking orders from a man? But you are willing to take orders from your male boss who pays for your hourly wage, minimum wage at best, to do whatever he tells you to do away from the home. All of this also plays into the reason why men are not okay with committed relationships, because we have women that will not provide mutual respect with the boyfriends or the husbands, but they will provide that loyalty and that emotional connection and validation to a man that is not their boyfriend or their husband, which also makes absolutely no sense to me. If you can do what you're told at your job, you can do what you're told at your house. Because men ask women, what do you want? So that they will do that too. The fact is that if you know that a man is willing to do whatever it is that you want, or to the best of his ability, accomplish the things that you need, then you know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, if he can accomplish it, he will do it for you. Which also means that beyond the shadow of a doubt, that if he needs something from you or asks something of you, you should do the exact same thing. And if it is beyond a shadow of a doubt in line with your capabilities, that you get for him the same way he gets for you. You know, some of the most amazing movies that I've seen in recent times were movies where the women were making sacrifices for the man. I mean, like they was it, the typical action movie or horror movie or drama even is when the man is out there putting his life on the line for the woman. He's going up against the world. He's battling all these mob bosses. He's flying to other countries. He's going up against the military. He's a one-man army to go save the girl. But you know, some of the most amazing ones to me are the ones that are more simplistic. She don't gotta go to war for him. She don't gotta go to another country and gun down 200 people or learn martial arts and Jackie Chan her way through a crowd of men in order to get to her man. She's able to sell her family heirlooms to get the money to cover a bill that her husband can't pay. She's able to get a second job to cover a loan that her husband took out for the house. She's able to work two jobs to help support her husband's relationship, or not the relationship, the restaurant that her husband's starting up. She's quitting college so that she can get a job because she didn't have a job, so that she can help her boyfriend or her husband accomplish something. She will move to wherever he's at and then do something that was not in line with her dreams and her ambitions so that she can be with him and doing the things that he needs done or doing the things that he wants to do. Those are some of the most tear-jerking, awesome, non-realistic behavior patterns that would, if women did that in reality, it would make them like the true definition of a prize, because they would literally sacrifice themselves for the same men that would literally sacrifice his self for her. And because it is hard to find those women do exist, but there's most of those women are taken by somebody. Whether or not that man appreciates her is not the point. The fact is that most of those women are currently in a committed relationship. Now, out of the ones that aren't in a committed relationship, whether they just got out of one or have yet to be found to get into one, those women are hard to find because those women are not propositioning themselves. Those women that are willing to sacrifice themselves for a man, they're pretty much grinding out for themselves right now. Their head's been down so long that they have not noticed that men are interested in them. So it's hard to find those women. But when you do find one, when you do find one, that's when you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So, with that being said, until you find them, because the women that proposition themselves to you are probably going to be looking at the way you dress. They're going to be looking at the car you got out of. They're going to be looking at the quantity of money that you're spending in the area that they're in. And based on that, and what amenities you have with you, like whether or not you're talking on an expensive cell phone or whatever, they will assume, if they're able to see when you pull out your wallet how much cash is in your wallet, or how much the bill costs at the cash register when you bought stuff, they will assume what kind of person you are. And based on that assumption, that assumption of he might have money, they may introduce themselves. But outside of that, if you don't look like you have money, which is one of the reasons why rich men dress poor, if you don't look like you have money, the gold diggers won't approach you. And not just the gold diggers, just the women that are driven to financial transactions and relationships won't approach you, because they will assume that you can't afford to pay for their expectations. And by all means, gentlemen, that is the position you want to have, is that you want to give off the presence, the aura, the idea that you cannot afford to pay for her unrealistic expectations. Now, that does not mean that you can't take care of all of her basic needs and maybe a little bit more than that. It just means that you want every woman to look at you and understand that you cannot afford to pay for her unrealistic expectations. Now, once she starts changing her mind from those unrealistic expectations and starts working towards realistic expectations, you might actually be able to bark up the right tree on that one. She might actually be able to find the right guy that will treat her the way she deserves to be treated and actually be able to invest in her. But this is only because she's investing in him. So, fellas, until we find women that are going to invest in us, if we're going to be getting ourselves involved in transactional relationships, let's not be withdrawn from that idea anymore. Let's just draft some contracts. And you can get online and you can Google them. And I think that I'm probably going to generate one or two of them and maybe post it up onto the community chat in the YouTube platform. So once I get one of those up, I'll post it up onto the platform for the members to see, and you guys can go take a look at it. But truth be told, like, yeah, a relationship contract, a dating contract, the do's and don'ts in a relationship, the deal breakers, the voided contracts, that would put you out of the relationship. You would be forfeiting your position in the house. You would be forfeiting your possession and utilization of the cars and everything like that. You would be leaving the cat and the dog behind. You would be really, like, you got to cover it all. You got to cover it all. Because if you cover it all, if you cover all the bases, they can't take shit. I mean, they can take it, but they got to reimburse you for it because it's in the contract that you were supposed to leave that behind. And you didn't leave that behind. So now they've got to compensate for it. And truth is that you can put a lien on some of the stuff that you know that they have access to. So, like, you can put a lien, if they got a vehicle, you can get the VIN number and everything like that, put a lien on the title. It's fine, because when they go to sell it, they got to pay off the lien. In order for them to total out the car, you got to pay out the lien. They got to pay back when they have gap insurance. Gap insurance covers the damage on the vehicle. They pay back the debtor. So if you got a lien on the car, get your money back off of that to a degree. If she's got an apartment or a house, put a lien on that if she owns it. She's got a mortgage on it. Women don't have as many assets as men do, so it's more often than not, she ain't gonna have shit but the clothes on her back. But you have to understand that if you're dating a female that ain't got shit but the clothes on her back, you are going to have to really establish that girlfriend contract that we've been talking about for the longest period of time, so that you understand that even if we're dating, you're not getting half of my shit. You're not getting half of my shit. You may have to itemize the entire inventory of the house, or minimize that itemization and say only items bought after such and such date are considered community property. So if you don't have a receipt showing that you bought it after the contract was created, it is considered to have been there before the contract was created, which means you can't take it with you. You can't sell it, can't liquidate it. If you destroy it, you have to reimburse me for it because it's considered mine. If there's no receipt for it, if there's no proof of date of purchase for it, then it is considered to have been there before the contract was established. So if she's going to be smart, she would have to piece together a portfolio of all of the stuff that she acquires during their relationship. And out of the things that she's going to take with her, she's going to keep track and itemized list of the things that she's going to take with her. And then everything that's not on that list, whether y'all agree that she could take it if you bought it, or she's going to take it because she bought it, whatever, you're going to make sure that you keep an itemized list of that stuff. And then if you guys break up, you take that and say, hey, nope. Even when the police officer says, oh, well, she's coming to get her stuff. Well, according to this contract, sir, she's only allowed to take this, 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 and this. This is our arrangement. These are the things that she's allowed to take. If she takes anything that's not on this list, that's a problem. You're able to work your way around a lot of issues. Now, we don't readily do this kind of stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, women are going to be insulted if you offer them a contract that puts them in a box of behavior patterns, what they're allowed to do versus what they're not allowed to do. Women are going to be insulted by that. That not very many women are okay with you offering them a prenup because it restricts them from having access to your resources. They don't want to be controlled. So they're going to be offended by that. They're going to feel like, oh, well, we're doing it out of love. Well, if we're doing it out of love, then you don't want my money. And if you don't want my money, you sign a contract that says that you don't want my stuff. So that if you leave with none of my stuff. And if you're okay with that, then we're good. But if you're not okay with that, then you really wanted my stuff. So you don't really love me, you love my stuff. But if you don't give a shit about my stuff, if all you want out of the situation is me, then you should, from the second, third, fourth date, when you decide to turn this into a long-term relationship, should be able to engage in a dating contract that is updated either every 6 months or every year until you guys are comfortable for those long-term contracts where you do a 2-year contract kind of thing, and work your way up to the potential. You're not even going to be doing a regular proposal. You're going to be doing a contract of promotion where you're going to promote her from the girlfriend to the fiance. And then she has to perform certain tasks before you elevate her from the fiance to the wife. And your contract on that scenario is not going to be wasting a bunch of money on rings and weddings. Your contract on that situation is going to be investing in financial transactions that will put large quantities of revenue into a trust that she will get as a severance package. You know, and that way she's guaranteed. So for those women that want an escape fund, look, if you got a man that's giving you a severance package that matures over time, the longer you stay with him, the more money you get when you walk away from the situation. You just stay with him. You don't got to steal money out of his bank account no more because he's already got it set up in a trust for you. That at some point in time, that when you decide to walk away, whatever is in this trust becomes yours and nothing else. And for those of you who want to throw a bunch of money into this trust, so that like legally she's just like, well, she can either take the trust or I can take the trust, and she can take the stuff, and there's more stuff in that trust and what everywhere else you can do that, you know. But let's be real. If you know that you're going to be making this financial sacrifice, you might as well just start putting money aside. I know that they have places like Korea that they got fines for like inappropriate behavior out there. Like if you punch somebody or slap somebody, like you got to pay money. Like, bro, if I know that I'm going to be pimp slapping folk like Bernie Mac, I'm going to be putting a third of my income into a bank account because I know that I'm going to fuck some people up. At least once a month, I'm going to slap the shit out of somebody. So I'm going to put money aside to cover the fine so that when I start slapping shit out of folks, there's money sitting there for that. It's like, don't worry about it. I already invested in this slap. You know, if I could either slap one person a month every month for 12 months, or I could beat the shit out of one person a year. Either way it goes, I put enough money aside for that. Got it covered. No problem. You know, and with that being said, you know, you're looking at the same thing, the mindset of taking care of the bullshit. If you're going to take 5 or 10% of your income and not put it into stocks and bonds for yourself, but you're going to put it somewhere, maybe I wouldn't even say 5 or 10%. I'd probably say 1 or 2%. And the reason why I would say 1 or 2% is because you shouldn't have to give her half. If she's not investing in herself, then fuck her. But the fact that you're going to engage in the idea that there is a guaranteed severance package that she will receive that will separate her from trying to steal all of your assets. 1 or 2% of the money that you bring in on a regular basis, you invest that. So $100 or $200 a month out of every $1,000 that you make, you invest that for the severance package. And then when the severance package, if in the event that the situation goes south where you're firing her, and that's going to be the other key, you have to make the severance package part of your termination of her, where you are telling her that she must leave. Because if she's voluntarily walking out the same way you quit from McDonald's, you don't get shit. All of the stock that you've invested into this company, if you walk away from the company, you don't get shit. So all the boyfriend stock that you've invested in, all of the boyfriend stock that was building up over the years, if you quit before you get fired, you don't get shit. That is the type of arrangement you need to have. And you're going to get a lot more dedication from the woman. You can't guarantee loyalty. She might still cheat on you with number two, boyfriend number two. But what you will get out of this situation is dedication to the fucking cause. Because if she knows that she ain't getting no money if she walks away, her ass ain't gonna walk away. She might piss you off to make you get rid of her. But if you know that she's trying to piss you off to get rid of her, you might put up with the bullshit. You can also write in a clause that you will reduce the quantity of money that she gets on her severance package for long-term unnecessary negative behavior. There you go. And off the top of my head, emotional distress is deducted from your severance package. There it is, which means that she's got to be on her best behavior, and you got to tell her to get the fuck out at the same time in order for her to get the most. But if you figure it out, you word it correctly, you may even get you some lawyers involved. Yeah, it's okay to pay $350 for a consultation. Yeah, some of them might offer you a free consultation, but who cares? You take the free consultation and throw another hour on top of that. Pay them for their time. Take 2 hours out of your day to have a lawyer help you draft a legitimate contract that makes fucking sense on so many levels, to the fact that she's going to be like, holy shit, yeah, we're serious now. And then men are not going to have that lack of confidence or that alleged fear of being in a long-term committed relationship, because you have the guidelines written in terms and conditions and behavior patterns that are expected to be followed in order for you to get your transactional comeuppance. Because since those of us that are religious that are not following Corinthians and Exodus, it tells you how to behave and how to treat other people. Fact is that since everybody's about money, turn your relationship into a contract. Turn your relationship into a fucking LLC. Like, legitimately get a tax identification number for your relationship. Make her a partner in that business. Put whatever money that's going to go into the relationship into that business. Anything that you buy for the relationship, you buy under that business's name. And then the best part about that is that everything that is under that LLC's name, you have no attachment to. And if she decides to walk away from the business, you liquidate the business, and then y'all can split the shit 50-50. But 100% of your other shit, your other LLCs and all your other assets and your personal stuff has nothing to do with that business. You can do that too. Either way, you find a way to separate yourself from the relationship, where she will only benefit from her investment or the two of y'all's investment into the relationship. And the rest of that is separate. So the relationship is just business, and the rest of that is personal. I know this is a lot of stuff for us to think about. It's a lot of stuff for us to take in, and it will definitely require a little bit of marinating. But when you think about these particular types of stipulations, you'll come to understand that more often than not, that this is going to be the more beneficial way to go. And until you find a kind of woman that cares enough about you that she will sign any fucking contract you give to her, well, she's going to be the kind of person that's going to earn her keep and not piss you off. It's going to be the kind of person that's going to earn that severance package upon death, the person that's going to inherit the company. Until you find that chick, you're stacking your capital. You're stacking your capital. And with that being said, I'm going to put a pin in tonight's show. Oh, look at that. Noah that slid in here at the last second. Oh, you coming out. You should have been here an hour and a half ago. I just want y'all to understand that we start the show at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific every night of the week. Sometimes we start up a little bit late, like 5 or 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late sometimes, because we've been dealing with that internet issue. And before I walk away, I just want to talk to y'all about the internet issue since Noah just came in. So they tried to comp the bill. They didn't comp the whole bill. They only comped the internet portion of the bill. So one person was telling me, oh, they're going to comp the whole bill. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great because it's a $350 bill. Oh, no, they're not going to comp the whole bill. They're just going to comp a portion of the bill that's covering the internet. I'm not really satisfied with that. But that's just $40 out of the whole $350. And I'm like, well, I mean, but they still got plenty of time to comp the whole bill because, I mean, they said they were going to service everything, that the situation was going to fix itself, and it didn't fix itself. Still streaming from using a cell phone as a hotspot device. So still streaming from the hotspot device, as opposed to the actual internet service. So apparently there was some down towers in the area, and that's one of the reasons why part of the service isn't working. But as we thoroughly troubleshooted the device, we come to find out that the Ethernet connection on the device doesn't function. So it does not provide internet service to anything that is hardwired to the modem. And that's supposed to be the primary way that you're supposed to get a connection. So with it having to be Wi-Fi to the network, and the network's not receiving any Wi-Fi signal, they have to determine if it is a defective product all the way around, where every version of that particular model needs to be recalled, and they have to do something to comp their customers, or if it's just the ones that they issued in the past 30 days, the past 60 days. And they're going to get back to me about it tomorrow. But in the meantime, I'm trying to make it work. And for some reason, hotspotting off of the cell phone, this is the second show that we have had where we have not had a drop signal. This is the second show that we've had that I haven't had a freeze frame. This is the second show that we've had where I haven't had any lag. So the cell phone is providing more internet service than the hotspot device or the home internet system. So that's a disappointment, because I mean that's an extra $100-something a month that is coming off of the internet, and not satisfied with it. But as it progresses itself, I'll keep giving you all the inside scoop and the skinny about the internet and how things are working. But for the most part, I'm still able to stream with y'all 7 nights a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. I'm always here for y'all. Y'all got some questions or comments that y'all would like to share, y'all could always throw it into the comment section before the show ends. Y'all can throw it into the messages. If you're on TikTok or Twitter or Twitch, y'all can send us a message, ask us any questions you want to ask us. We can make a show about it. Or y'all could hit that like button and throw us a few thumbs up, show us some support during the show, and also subscribe or follow us if you haven't already done so that we can increase our membership, because especially those of you that are following us on TikTok, we're trying to get to that 100,000. We need a minimum of 10,000 so we can try to get our stream key. That way we can bring everybody together so that we can have a group conversation. Because right now I got to stream off of multiple different platforms. So that's why you see the picture-in-picture, because everybody else is over there and the rest of y'all are over here. And that's one of the reasons why, I have to double manage, because I have to overdrive my modem in order to try to get everybody streaming at the same time. But I do what I got to do to try to make sure that everybody's up here. If I had to, I would honestly probably have another window off to the right side over here where I would be streaming other platforms that I could not stream off of the first two platforms. But that's just so that I can bring everybody together so that we can have our open forum, open-minded discussions, because I really enjoy the times when you guys do interact and engage with the conversation, because everybody has their own insight and opinions. And if you guys have insight and opinions, I'm always here to hear it. But a lot of the times, people just like to listen. So, I'm good at talking as well as listening, but I'm good at talking. So I try my best to provide you guys with the type of show that you guys like and what you guys need. And like I told you, we keep trying to improve things for the better. So as we try to tune it up, we try to ask you guys to like and subscribe, show some support, super emojis, super likes, super thanks. Get in there and throw a little something to the show. Donate some diamonds to the show. We could benefit from that as well. For those of you that are on Twitch and TikTok, if y'all throw a few diamonds at us every now and again, those add up, the pennies that add up, and it helps us pay for the podcast. It helps us pay for the behind the scenes software with the video editing and everything to that effect. So always showing us some love so that we can continue to improve the quality of the podcast that we give you. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and sign out of TikTok first. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show tonight. And ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to ask you every day of the week to ladies make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. And for the rest of you guys, as we're signing out of TikTok, I want to thank y'all again for showing us that support, because like I tell y'all every night of the week, that y'all make us what we are. So we really appreciate you guys giving us the time of day. We really appreciate you guys showing us the support that you give us, because, you know, without y'all, we would not be able to do what we do. As we come across some better affiliate items, I'm going to be letting you guys know some of our tips and tricks that we're going to be coming across, save you guys some bucks, because I know Halloween's coming up soon, and we're going to be trying to buy some things for Halloween. So depending on where you are in the world, if I've got some discounts or anything like that that you guys can benefit from, then I'll definitely provide it to you. But for the most part, if you guys are coming in, like I say, follow us, join a membership, take a look at our merchandise store, and take a look at our plethora of affiliate links where we have discounts and promos and everything to that effect. For those of you that are about to start buying Christmas gifts, because we're in late September, so I know they're starting to do the before Christmas sales, the Black Friday sale for right after Thanksgiving, the Cyber Sunday, Cyber Monday sales. So since you already know that these things are coming, you know, take a look at what we got to offer and what we're promoting, what we're tagging ourselves on. And then, you know, we can help you guys make it make sense with your spending, because if you're going to spend money, you should at least spend money wisely. I would first invest it, but I mean, if you're going to spend money, you might as well spend money wisely. So again, I'm going to tell you, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for coming to this Nat, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sander, and